face-up right now. The Sooners have them on their heels right now.
Right down the seam, wide open. James Hanna. And another touchdown for Oklahoma.
Outstanding job by the Oklahoma Sooners, and as a country music artist might say, the Oklahoma Sooners had their game on. Oklahoma with a 47-17 victory, overwhelming the Florida State Seminoles, and 47-17 the game wasn't even that close. As the Sooners, yes, they are back after a lethargic performance against Utah State just 7 days ago, and there's two things that I at least learned about the Oklahoma Sooners. Number one, college football in a lot of ways is like life in this aspect. One day things may not be going your way no matter what happens, but you can live and learn from it and get better, and Oklahoma did just that. Looked like a completely different team than the one that started their season back on September 4th in that 7-point win against the Aggies. Oklahoma comes back today offensively, defensively, plays very strong, and you saw the result. The other thing that I learned is that Oklahoma is proof that sometimes you can win a ball game before you even step on the field on game day. What does that mean? Well, it means that if you get after it during the week of practice, if you absorb the information that the coaches give you, and I'm sure the Oklahoma coaches, Bob Stoops especially, was all in his players' grill this week because of what happened last week. Not only that, he knew that his team had to play much better, had to be more sharper, had to be more focused, get their assignments down, especially the secondary, and especially Landry Jones against his Florida State team, if his Sooners were going to triumph on this day. And that's exactly what happened. Oklahoma, my friends, won this game from Labor Day Monday all the way to today because of preparation. I'm sure it was some of the most grueling practices that they've gone through. I'm sure the game film watching was very intense. They were very intuitive. They were focused. And Oklahoma, with a complete effort in this one, dominating what I still think is a good Florida State team, and the Florida State team, in my opinion, that's going to have a shot in the ACC, because right now in the ACC, I don't think there's really one clear-cut team. I think Clemson's good. I still think Miami's good, despite their loss at Ohio State. No shame in losing to the Buckeyes at the Horseshoe. Georgia Tech, they're not quite as good as I thought, not to downplay the Kansas upset over the Yellow Jackets on Saturday. And, of course, Virginia Tech, you know, my national championship pick, and boy, don't I look like an idiot after that. They've already lost twice, losing to James Madison on Saturday. So, Florida State, I still think is going to have a legitimate shot at winning their division. Of course, they've got to play at Miami, and they have to play other ACC competition as well. I think North Carolina, they'll play them later in the year, and I think they get Georgia Tech as well. But Florida State's got a good shot at winning their division, and a good shot, I think, at winning the ACC, now that I think that it's wide open. Florida State still has a shot at a BCS berth. The offense, no question, for Florida State is still going to put up points, even though they had a difficult time of it on Saturday. And I still think that Florida State can improve on defense, but it's going to take time under Mark Stoops' plan. And I do think that Florida State will still have a productive season, but Oklahoma was simply the better team, and it looked like they were the more prepared team on Saturday. Landry Jones, fantastic job, and we'll get into great detail about Landry in just a little bit when I review my 4 keys to the game. But Landry, you know, he was under a lot of criticism after the so-so game a week ago, throwing 2 interceptions and having more incompletions than completions. But on Saturday, he came right back, and I think the game plan, you know, that came from Kevin Wilson, that came from the offensive staff in the beginning of the game was simple. Don't throw anything too deep. You know, make sure that Landry gets off to a good start. Make sure he's comfortable. Throw some short passes, some safe passes. Utilize DeMarco Murray, which Oklahoma did a great job of doing that on Saturday. Also utilize Ryan Broyles. Hey, he's your most dangerous player on offense. Use him, and use him more times than often. And those first few drives that Oklahoma had, Florida State could not stop the Sooners. And at times, Florida State, and I would love to get some feedback from Florida State fans if you're watching this. Did Florida State defensively look out of position? Not to take anything away from Oklahoma, but did the fast-tempo Oklahoma offense confuse Florida State a little bit? There were a couple of touchdowns I thought that Oklahoma had where Florida State just looked well out of position. Maybe it is because of Mark Stoops' new defensive plan. Maybe it is going to take more time than what Florida State fans might have thought to get that defense turned around from where they were last year. Oklahoma, simply put, executed offensively flawlessly, and Landry Jones, big reason why. And the offensive line, can't give those guys near enough credit. Ben Haber at center, you got Tyler Evans, you got Stephen Good at the guards, you know, you have the tackles, Donald Stevenson, you've got an offensive line, Eric Minzik, the other tackle. You've got guys up front that last year got criticized a lot. Of course, they were beat up a lot too. But today, complete team effort, and those guys up front did a fantastic job on Saturday. Defensively, even though that first drive did not go Oklahoma's way, Christian Ponder and company, you can tell that that's a veteran offense because they picked Oklahoma apart on that opening series, tying the game at 7. But you saw Christian Ponder under a lot of duress on Saturday. You saw him happen to get rid of the ball a little earlier than he wanted to. Oklahoma took some chances defensively, and as the game progressed, you saw the Oklahoma defensive line start to penetrate in the Florida State backfield. I still think FSU offense is good. I still think Christian Ponder is a whale of a quarterback, but Christian Ponder, it didn't matter if you had Joe Montana or Johnny Unitas quarterback in Florida State today, you're under a lot of pressure. Didn't take an Einstein to know that you're going to have a more difficult time completing passes and you're going to be more prone to making mistakes. And Ponder looked sharp in the beginning, but those next few possessions for Florida State, they just couldn't get much going. Credit the Oklahoma defense for making Ponder uncomfortable. And then we saw in the third quarter with those interceptions that Oklahoma began to mount up, it set up short scoring drives for the Sooners. Oklahoma 47-17, and the excitement is back in Norman, defeating a good Florida State ball club. Oklahoma now 2-0, and after dropping from 7 or 8 to number 10 in both polls entering this game, Oklahoma should rise in next week's polls. Let's go ahead and highlight the 4 keys to the game that I talked about on the weekly matchup show previously. Number 1, contain Christian Ponder. You betcha. Thumbs up for Oklahoma, way up in this case. Ponder, I said that earlier in the week he's going to have his moments, but little did I know that those moments were going to be strictly on the first drive and really nowhere else. We talked about it already, Oklahoma putting pressure on Ponder, and you cannot say enough about Oklahoma's defense. They gave up over 300 yards in passing yardage against Utah State the week before, but in the first half, Ponder had more incompletions than completions and was outshined today by Landry Jones, which goes into key number 2, and that is, you know, Landry Jones' time to bounce back. Another thumbs up right there. Landry Jones, get this, in the first half completed over 20 passes, had 3 touchdown passes, and threw for over 300 yards. That's not for the game. That was in the first half. Granted, he had plenty of help around him. You know, the running game may not have had one of their biggest numbers as far as the rushing attack goes, but no question, the passing yardage mounted up in huge chunks in that first half. And the offensive line, of course, I've given props to them. Going to give them another plug. Great job by the interior for Oklahoma. Landry Jones was flawless on this day and looked like a completely different quarterback than that quarterback that we saw just 7 days ago. Key number 3, run DeMarco, run. I'm going to go thumbs up in this case, and I understand that Murray did not have a 200-yard type running day, okay? But he did have a multiple touchdown day, and in the first quarter, as I mentioned, he was heavily utilized as a receiver, and that's an added dimension that Oklahoma knows that Murray will provide for this offense. So defenses, you just can't worry about containing Murray's ground attack. You're going to have to worry about him as that additional receiver coming out of the backfield with those swing completions. DeMarco Murray was multidimensional on this day, so I go thumbs up. And then number 4, make it a special day. I will go thumbs up in this situation, realizing that although Oklahoma did miss an extra point and they did miss a field goal as well, O'Hara did convert on 2 field goals. And the biggest reason why I'm giving a thumbs up is because Oklahoma, as I mentioned on the weekly matchup show previously, it was going to be so key to have great kick and punt containment. And on a scale of 1 to 10, this was a 50 for the Sooners. Being able to stay in your lanes, to be disciplined, to not give up the huge punt or kickoff returns, and Greg Reed a non-factor on Saturday. I believe that Greg Reed, as we saw in the Sanford game a week ago, capable of taking any punt back the distance. As a matter of fact, led the country last year in punt return average with 16 yards per punt return. Nothing to sneeze at all, but at times did not get to touch the ball on punt returns. And then on kick coverage, Oklahoma, spectacular job. So that's the biggest reason why I go thumbs up. Even though it wasn't a perfect special teams day for Oklahoma, it was a pretty good special teams day. Oklahoma didn't allow Florida State to utilize a weapon, which is special teams, and that's what Florida State was. They excelled at last year, and they had excelled at entering this game, but not on this day. Oklahoma 2-0 on the season, but we have to understand that it's a long season. You still have 10 games to go, and you're going to be facing a team in Air Force on September 18th that's pretty much just the opposite of Florida State, where Florida State predominantly throws the ball. Air Force has that triple option threat. So you kind of have to revamp the defensive game plan all over again. The scouting report is going to look quite different than what you had a few days ago. In Air Force, they're not going to be a walk in the park. They defeated BYU on Saturday as well. This is maybe supposed to be a rebuilding year for the Falcons. Can't take them lightly, though, because they look good against the Cougars on Saturday. So Oklahoma and the Air Force Academy, it'll be the Falcons and the Sooners on September the 18th. And remember, it'll be a 2:30 kickoff on Fox Sports Net. So just a little plug as far as the TV coverage for that. Final score, the Oklahoma Sooners, simply sensational, 47-17, overwhelming the Florida State Seminoles. So long for now, and Boomer Sooner.